Yeah, I hope this is not too redundant. I mean, it's related to what Hans was talking about. I could see you both were pointing at, that energetic shift of expansion, seeing that the essence of what you really are is not the mind, is not the body. That sometimes that feels like an experience, but it's not actually an experience. Um, I guess what I'm trying to say is I noticed that kind of like my question last week that my mind is looking for this experience of no self. And my life is it's not that I'm trying to, I mean, of course, like I'm human. I'm sure I do want to escape my life at some point, but on the whole, I'm doing very well and I'm proud of who I am. But still, I find this like seeking of,
Yeah.
like wanting to have more of an experience of it doesn't feel like I'm a character. And I know that's like a phrase that teachers use to point. But still, I kind of seek that. I inquire, and I think I do seek maybe more of a falling away of identification with
Mm.
the body and the mind.
Mm.
Um, and I think in the year and a half or so that I've learned about non-duality, there has been quite a bit of that. But still, I feel like I'm waiting almost for something big to happen, and maybe
Mm.
that's just something I need to let go of.
Mm. Yeah, totally. I mean, whether the person lets go of it or not is irrelevant. It more than likely on the human level will be more relaxing. So let going it or not let going of it won't lead you to freedom anymore either way. Like that's a dynamic that's arising. But when seeking's arising, it always has an inherent discomfort in it. So if there can be a surrendering of that seeking on the human level, it feels more satisfactory. But it doesn't actually change when it comes to waking up, because that element of you now is already awake. You are already awake. It's just that the person is focused, not all the time, but sometimes on that seeking. So this room is awake. This room is conscious now. I don't know if you're sitting in a room, but I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
This computer is conscious now. There is consciousness happening. So consciousness isn't asleep and doesn't need waking up. It doesn't need anything. It's just that in the human or somewhere in the experience is that consciousness gets sucked into the body mind and it feels like it belongs to the human. But in actuality, it doesn't. So right now, just by the fact that there is consciousness at the table, or consciousness of the carpet, or consciousness of the room, is an indicator that the consciousness is free. Because it's not bound to you. It's not bound to this human. There is consciousness that is in everything now, which is everything and all things. It's totally free and expanded. It doesn't need you to do anything or not doing anything. But when the human feels like it owns consciousness and the consciousness is something inside the body and that it is conscious, it is always like a little stone in the shoe, because it's not true.
Yeah.
But your consciousness doesn't need saving. Like when I say your consciousness, your awakening maybe is a better thing. Your essence doesn't need saving. It is already free. Your consciousness is in my words now. It is always non-dual consciousness. Your consciousness, if you're looking at me, I don't think you can, but if you are, it's in my skin. It's in my brown eyes. It's in my hair. It's in the sofa behind me. It's in everything. And the same with that sense of I amness, that aliveness is in the words, is in the space in between. It's in all things and nothing. So your essence now is everywhere. Your essence now is free. Always. But just it seems like the person is like sucking it in and making it feel like it's bound, but it's never been bound. It never will be bound. It will always be free. Your essence will always be free. It never move in time. It'll never have horrors or not horrors. It's always here, holding itself as itself.
Yeah. And so when there's like a forgetting of that, if there is a forgetting of that, it's just kind of bringing it back to inquiry. Perhaps. I know I'm looking for something to do.
Yeah, you can, on the human level, you can give yourself wise things to do, you know, why not? Yeah. That person isn't going to get to this because this is already here. Yeah. It's just a shift in perception that happens. But yeah, if the person wants to, then a wise thing to do, not to get to enlightenment, because who would get to enlightenment, but a wise thing to do to settle that person is to put the attention in this moment, or the consciousness, or I amness, whatever you feel comfortable with, to bring it back to what is happening. Mm-hmm. Another wise thing to do on the human level, so it can be distinguished better what the human and the character is, because often there is a lot of unconsciousness about what the human is and seeking for and up to, is to have a good conceptualization of the personality structure. So that, and by doing that, it stops getting so messy. You know, like when you don't have a good conceptualization of yourself, there can be a lot of unconscious things getting acted out, which isn't a problem. It doesn't stop from awakening. Awakening can happen to somebody that's deeply unconscious on the human level. But it's just it kind of tidies up the cage and stops it being so messy, so that something else can be heard. So those are the two things which are wise things to do, is putting the attention back into the I am, or the empty looking, or this moment, whatever resonates for you. And then on the human level, having a good conceptual understanding of what it is to be human and what the character is up to and seeking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think part of that is just noticing, like you and Hans were talking about, I think, or one thing I took away from what you said is just noticing that I think often with the seeking, there's some idea that something's going to happen in the future that will be better than a better experience than...
Yeah, and that's something on the character. So that's something in the conceptualization of the character. And that will be a habit. So everything that we're up to on the human level in this moment is a habit that's evolving. So we're full of these like habits and these genetic responses, these conditioned responses, and they're evolving. But it will be a habit. So your mind will be used to thinking in that type of way. So if it's not the enlightenment, then in the past it maybe was the lover. In the past it might have been the money or the career. So it will just be a habit that it's used to thinking in that way of being. And it's just conceptualizing that, knowing that. And so that's not your truth. So to you, it feels like it at points, like your mind feels like my truth is that something will happen and something will shift and then I will be free. That is not the truth. That is a habit that is playing out in this. And who I am is watching that. So that's got nothing to do with enlightenment. Who I am is watching that. And then that habit plays out. So what the mind can do, the self-awareness, is put the attention back in the attention. But there's still something watching that. So there's still just a phase. That's a human thing, a human characteristic. And there's something that's watching the mind do that. But that's a wise thing to do. Then you can begin to go on to question whether there is someone that could do that or not, and whether someone can choose to do that or not. But it seems like there can be a choice. And when you feel like there is a choice, that is wise. And also to, know what the person's up to, like I just said. like knowing that that's a habit of my ways of thinking. Other people's habits might be looking for love and attention from others, and then there might be some sort of dream that in awakening that will happen. You know, I will become this super enlightened person and everyone will give me love and attention, and it might not be a conscious thing, but that might be part of it. So it's then conceptualizing it. So there is a feeling of lack arising, and then the person is going out into the seeking. Nothing wrong with that. You don't have to stop it. Just recognize that, and that's got nothing to do with awakening. Who you are is that which that arises in. There is something that is watching all of that is unmoved, and that watching is everything, is this moment, is timeless. But the person is always getting confused by itself, always thinking that freedom is a time-bound reality, whereas freedom is always the timeless.
Yeah. Thank you. I think
Yeah,
I'll
with
just,
pleasure.
I will sit with that. And it's always, it's helpful to have the live stream because I like to listen back to it too and take more that way too.
Yeah, nice.
So,
yeah, thanks, Katie.
thank you. Yeah, take care.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.